Welcome to ABC News, where children's views really matter. This week's headlines. We hear about the Food Hub from two of Achievement Butte's workers who are currently volunteering.
The Games Hall at Rossley Joint Campus is usually filled with children running around and playing sports, but not today. Today is full of food parcels and volunteers getting ready to deliver them all around the island. We spoke to Jennifer and Neve, who have been volunteering at the Food Hub every week. Jennifer, you normally work for Achievement Butte, so can you tell us why you volunteered at the Food Hub?
So I decided to volunteer at the Food Hub because I thought it would be a good way to help people in the community during a difficult time, while it also gave me something to do.
Neve, what type of things have you had to do?
We always separate all the boxes into lots of different big piles where they're then put onto the minibuses and into the cars and they get sent out.
Who are the boxes for?
The boxes are for people who are shielding and vulnerable people.
It looks like those boxes are really heavy. What's in them?
There's so much different things in the boxes. There's bread and rolls and potatoes, there's pasta, there's tin foods, there's different sauces, there's fruit juice, there's even toiletries in it.
Who else has been helping to deliver the food to people?
Lots of people have been helping. There's the resilience team, members of staff from the school, Interlock Transport, Hanson's and some volunteers from Mount Stewart.
What kinds of things have they been doing?
So they've been driving people out to help them deliver the food, collecting medicines for people that can't go out, getting their shopping.
If somebody needs a food parcel, what should they do?
The contact details are on screen now.
Right down there.
Thanks for telling us all about the Food Hub, Neve and Jennifer.
Thank you, bye and keep safe.
Bye, keep safe.
Last week we reported on the community weeding of Guildford Square. This week, some of our youngest citizens told us how they also have taken up the weeding challenge.
Following our report on the excellent job of people weeding Guildford Square, we have been finding out what apple tree nursery have been doing for weed control. Callie, what inspired you to do weeding?
Because it was all messy and I want to make beautiful again.
Matilda, where exactly have you been weeding?
I'm outside in the garden, roadside peas.
Jessica, why do you like weeding?
Because I like weeding because it's messy.
Poppy, why is weeding important?
So it keeps the town tidy for visitors.
Some strange things have came from the coronavirus pandemic. Do you think weeding is going to be part of Apple Tree's curriculum now?
I don't think so.
Thank you all very much for your weeding and talking to ABC News.
Now to a garden where weeds are not a problem. Let's find out what Reese has been up to this week.
Welcome to Reese's garden. Hi everyone, I'm watching the plants for you. This one's my favourite. Oh, that's a back garden, a lovely plant. I water the plants. Look at that, that's gorgeous. Look how fast that's grown, that's big. That's the strawberry plant. Oh, that's a new tuner. I water the plant. It go big. I got a plant here. A lovely grove though. It's a mint plant. Thank you very much, a garden. Hey.
I don't know about you, but when I was young, I went to school with my school bag. But this year, children starting primary 1 are going to school with the Gruffalo. Let's find out why.
Hi, today I'm talking to Linda Berger about building dens. Linda, you're in charge of this preschool to primary 1 transition project based on the Gruffalo. Can you please tell us why you chose this?
And that was chosen because it's a very well-known, much-loved children's book that many families are familiar with already, and many of them have already got a copy of the book. But we also provided copies of the book for families that didn't have any and wanted to take up that offer.
Can you tell us why you think it is really good for young children to build dens, apart that it is really good fun?
Dens can provide a really nice, quiet, cosy space for children, providing a wee bit of privacy and protection. And right now, when all the families at home taking up the same space, it can be quite nice to have a wee place of your own.
What kind of things have they been using to build their dens with?
Well, huge variety of things, everything from indoor furniture, their bunk beds, their sofas, their chairs, their tables, to outside trampoline frames. They've been using clothes airers, sheets and throws and pegs to hold it all together. They've been very creative in the materials that they've found to make their dens.
What is the most unusual den that you have seen?
So one of the most unusual dens I saw was a Gruffalo cafe den, hidden out in the woods, and it was complete with all sorts of signs and unusual potions being created as well.
Well, Linda, it has been great hearing from you. Thank you and goodbye.
Hello, my name is Eliza. I asked Mrs. Saw about going to school with the Gruffalo.
So the first week, our Gailenbuke Council put the story of the Gruffalo online, and the children all shared that story with their families. The second week they were introduced to all the characters, and then the third week they got to make delicious Gruffalo crumble using any fruit that they like. This was followed by a couple of art activities, making sock puppets and story stones, and of course the children enjoyed making dens for the Gruffalo outside.
Have you been putting posts on Facebook about this?
We started putting a post up on our Facebook page each week to match with the transition activity put up by the authority.
During lockdown, most children are not going to school, so how will you help them get to know what school is like if we can't go inside it?
In the second week, myself and the little mouse from the story took the children a tour in the school, and we visited the primary 1 classroom, we said hello to Fred the fish, we visited the offices and the outdoor play areas, and of course the dining hall where the children will have their lunch. The following week, Miss Robertson read the story again and introduced the characters within the story and looked at them with a little bit more detail. And then the next week, Mrs McCallum read the story. Now they're all going to be primary 1 teachers, so it's really lovely for the children to get to know them.
Sounds like fun to me. Have you had fun, Mrs. Shaw?
Last week, Mrs McCurdy took us for a walk through the forest, and this week Mrs O'Brien will put her post up on our Facebook page on Wednesday. We've had lots of fun, and we hope the boys and girls have had fun too.
Thank you for speaking to ABC News, Mrs. Shaw.
I wish I was in primary 1 again. I just love the Gruffalo. Now it's time for this week's grilling with Scotland's Minister for Children and Young People, Maree Todd.
Welcome to the grilling. Today on the grilling, we meet Maree Todd, who has the most important job in the Scottish Parliament because she's the Minister for Children and Young People.
Hi there, I'm delighted to be with you and I'm looking forward to being grilled. You're absolutely right to say that I have the most important job in government. It's also the most fun.
So, Miss Todd, my brother is 15 years old, so does that make him a child? Or is he technically a young person?
Adolescence is a unique period. So being a teenager is a unique period in your life where you're not really a child and you're not really an adult, and you're making the transition from childhood into adulthood. And the law in Scotland largely recognises that in different situations and in different ways. You can be quite grown up at 15 and do quite a lot of things, but really the last word in the law is often that it is over 18 before you are fully considered to be an adult.
Did you hear that? Not really a child, but not really an adult either. Now, Miss Todd, we understand that you were a pharmacist before you became an MSP. So what's the biggest difference between being an MSP and a pharmacist?
Gosh, that's an absolutely brilliant question. I was a pharmacist for 20 years before I came into politics, and I was a very specialised pharmacist. I worked in mental health. The biggest difference, I guess, is maybe all the speaking up in public when I'm on television or on the radio answering questions. And I think, gosh, it's really funny, because I've been used my whole life to answering questions, but there's something about the camera or the interview situation that makes it really quite scary. And I often think then, oh, I never had to do this when I was a pharmacist.
Miss Todd, you're from Liverpool, aren't you? Or is it Ullapool?
I'm from Ullapool, which makes me an Ullapudlian, not a Liverpudlian, an Ullapudlian. And I do love that name. I actually don't live in Ullapool anymore. I left Ullapool when I was 17 when I went away to university, but it will always be home for me.
Okay, Miss Todd, we do extensive research for our interviews, so we found out some very peculiar things about politicians, and in your case, we found out that you were a flame shell champion. I've never heard of that before, so can you tell us more about it?
They have this scheme there in Parliament where they ask MSPs to be a species champion. Coming from Ullapool, as I do, which is a really important fishing port, I was very keen to champion something quite meaningful. And the flame shell is it's called a bivalve mollusk. So it's got two shells and it looks very like a mussel, if you know what a mussel looks like on the seashore. But it's got a fringe around the shell, a flame sort of coloured fringe of tentacles. So it looks like a mussel, but it's got this little fringe. And it builds nests, which when they all join together form a big reef. And that is just perfect nursery ground for lots and lots of commercial species. So around those flame shell nests is a really, really important ecosystem.
Who knew? Right, Miss Todd, this last question's for my brother. He wants to know how young people, or children, like him are going to be graded this year, since they didn't get to take any exams.
I know that, not going to school and missing out on your exams and finishing your school year abruptly, these are all tough things. The exam authorities and your teachers and Education Scotland are all working together really hard to make sure that every single child in Scotland gets a fair representation of their ability from the grade that they're given for their work this year.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for having me on and asking all these questions. It really genuinely has been a very tough grilling.
So, on to the weather. Liam, what is in store for us this week?
Hello there, did you hear the fun that we had during the night this week? It was something else. But anyway, today's weather is cloudy in the morning, outbreaks of rain becoming brighter in the afternoon, temperatures of around 15 degrees Celsius. Until next week, enjoy your weather.
And finally, ABC News is all about giving children a chance to tell you what we think about things that are important. Before we close tonight's programme, Mia has something important she would like to say. Now stay safe and have a good night.
Hi, my name is Mia. I am 10 years old and I'll be talking about Black Lives Matter. I feel like this is ridiculous. Everyone should be treated equal, no matter colour or race. The death of George Floyd is horrific. Loads of black people have been killed over the years, and whilst white police have been charged, they're usually found not guilty, and this needs to stop. Racism has always been around over the years and should no longer be tolerated. I think we should stop being racist and stand together to support each other and realise that our differences are only skin deep. The colour of our skin should matter no more than the colour of our eyes. Thank you for listening.